Hi, Stevie.
How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Can you hear me okay?
I sure can.
How's everything going?
Pretty good. Congratulations on another goal, another
Thank
victory.
you. Thank you. Yeah, it's been really fun.
You're playing in Slovakia last night, huh?
We just actually that was tonight. I just got back. They came to us. Slovakia team Slovan Bratislava came to Helsinki. So we've had a couple home games in a row now. So it's pretty nice.
Awesome. Mind if I ask you a couple of background questions? Just
No, hey,
okay.
whatever you need, I'm happy to help.
Oh, super. Well, first of all, I'm going to have to thank Tina for helping to coordinate this. What a great
Yeah,
lady.
yeah, just a tremendous fan, tremendous person. So yeah, obviously, really great to have those kind of people involved in the hockey program at UNH.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I met her quite by accident because she sort of sits up in the handicap section up around the perimeter of the arena, and I just happened to stand next to her a couple of times, and as you might imagine, she chats people up pretty regularly.
For sure, for
She's a
sure.
terrific. So you grew up in Leominster, huh?
I did. Yep.
Uh,
Yep. Grew up in Leominster.
I lived there. Let's see. I bought a house there in '86 and lived there for probably maybe 3 or 4 years.
Really?
So,
Where about in Leominster?
well, it was, let's see, it was a little street called Bartlett Street. It was in one of the neighborhoods behind the hospital. So
Okay.
sort of
Yeah.
between the hospital and is it Miriam Ave was the other major.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were
Yeah.
little neighborhoods in there. There was like a small elementary school a couple streets away from where I was.
I think my father just bought. He does some real estate where he sometimes he buys, fixes, and then sells houses. Sometimes he buys and then puts tenants in there. I think he just bought a house on Bartlett Street last year, had owned it for like a year and sold it. But I worked on it with him last summer, and I'm almost positive it was Bartlett Street. So what a coincidence that is.
I'll be darned. Yeah, it was a craftsman style house. An older couple had lived there since it was built, sometime in like the 30s, I think. And they passed away, and the house had
Okay.
been empty for quite a while. And my wife and I bought it, and we
Yeah.
renovated it and
Yeah.
made a hefty profit.
Good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it
That's
was.
a nice area there. It's a nice little neighborhood back there, back near the hospital. It's
Yeah, I
really
really
nice.
we liked it a lot. It's actually the first house I ever owned. We both worked at the Fernald State School in
Okay.
Waltham for we used to
Okay.
call for people with mental retardation.
Okay.
Of course, now they call it developmental
Yeah.
disabilities. But yeah, we
Right.
were
Yeah.
both
Whatever the term of the day is.
exactly. We were both psychologists there, so the commute back then wasn't all that bad.
Yeah.
Even though you'd hit traffic every now and then, but we could get there in 45, 50 minutes without too much difficulty. So
Good.
that was great. Now, were you? My understanding is you were recruited by a number of schools, including Boston College. Is that? If I got that right?
Yeah. Yeah. I had a lot of interest in junior, and basically it came down to Maine, UNH, Dartmouth, and BC. Maine, UNH, and Dartmouth all wanted me to come in '08, and BC wanted me to come in 2009.
Okay.
So they wanted me to do an extra year of juniors. This was, I think I committed in '06, maybe like I think it was early in my junior year, like summer before my junior year. So
Okay.
this was 3 years or 2 years before I was coming to school. So they were saying, BC was saying you need to do your final 2 years of high school and then a year of juniors because they had already had a group of guys committed for that '08 class.
Okay.
Similar players to myself. Cam Atkinson was one of those guys. I forget who else they had in that class. Paul Carey. They had a good '08 class coming in already. So, but anyway, basically what happened was Scotty Bork was the first guy of all those schools that really started talking to me. I think I went on my first visit to UNH probably when I was a freshman in high school. Came in just for a walk around and to meet the coaches and stuff. And so had been talking to
Yeah.
was obviously a school. Of course, BC growing up in Mass was intriguing, but when everything came down to it, I really felt good with Coach Amelia and Coach Boric and Coach Lassonde at the time. I had good talks with all of them, and yeah, I mean, it made it a pretty easy decision. Obviously, the other thing was that Dartmouth was really in the mix, but they didn't offer scholarships to the Ivy League schools.
Right.
I would have had to pay. I don't know what, we didn't bother doing the financial aid stuff because it would have been expensive.
Right.
And I wanted to play hockey. I knew that I wanted to continue playing hockey after school, and I wanted that to be my main focus. And so I thought UNH was the best place for me to do that. And it's worked out for me.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, I think Coach Boric certainly has developed a reputation for finding kids young before they're on the radar of some of the other bigger schools. And it sounds like that was the case in your situation. He was the first to contact you?
Yeah, I think he's a great recruiter. I think he's a good assessor of talent, and I think he really puts a lot of trust in him when he says, this guy's going to fit in our system. I think he really listens to him. Obviously, Coach Emilie's been there so long. He doesn't do quite as much traveling and scouting as some of the other coaches. I think head coaches that are a little bit younger. So
right.
I think Scotty and Dave at the time did a lot of the recruiting, and yeah, they saw me play so many times. I mean,
is that right?
They must have seen me play. They must have seen me play 50 to 75 times before I was a junior in high school, and so of course, it's a kind of a tough situation at that age because there are rules on recruiting, and we couldn't I don't know exactly, couldn't have an official visit or couldn't get anything paid for. I don't remember exactly what the rules were, but they followed all the rules. I mean, no doubt about it. It was totally the way it's by the book. But I had a relationship with those guys, and at that time when you're 15, 16, it's obviously a lot of this stuff comes from the coaches talking to your parents. And my father was and is a huge part of my hockey career, and he was my coach growing up, and they watch every game now. So I think he talked to Scotty a lot, and him and I both really trusted those guys. And I think it was an early decision. I mean, I was pretty young when I made that decision, 16 years old, I think I was. But obviously, like I said, it was. I think it was the right one for me.
Yeah, one of the things I do on the blog is once a kid commits to UNH, and I start to report on them, and I usually interview them, and it's astounding how the age is getting lower and lower. It was about a month ago. The youngest kid ever committed to UNH is a kid named Joel Farabee. He's 14. He's a freshman. He plays for the Selects Hockey Academy, which is affiliated with the South Kent School. And when I met him and I interviewed him after he committed, and my God, he's just a little guy, 14 years old. So I think it's
unbelievable.
It really is, yeah. Well, I guess that's the way it has to be, though. I mean, you have to try and find them, particularly for a school like UNH, who can't sort of sit back, wait for the kid to develop into a superstar, become 18 and 19 years old, and then sit back and then be able to pick them off like the BCs and the Michigans do. So.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a necessary evil in my opinion. Obviously, I don't like to see that. Even when I made the commitment, I was young. I didn't have all the information. Like I said, I'm thrilled with my decision, but I think it doesn't always work out that way.
Right.
And I think it's tough for the schools to know what they're going to get. When they look at a 14, 15-year-old player, even a 16-year-old player. A lot changes from 16 to 18 or 16 to 19 or 14 to 18.
Exactly.
But like you said, obviously it's such a competitive business, really. And everyone's got to do what they can to get an edge. And I think if guys watch some 14-year-old play and say this kid's going to be a player, then that's their job, and hopefully they do a good job evaluating those guys, and hopefully it works out for obviously there's many situations where it does work out, and some when the player doesn't develop into the player that you thought he was going to be. So that's I guess that's the direction that it's college hockey's been headed in for a long time now, and I think it's like you said, it's obviously gotten to a pretty extreme point.
Yeah.
Now when you get 14, your freshman in high school committing to play at schools, but yeah, it's what it is, and everyone's got to deal with it.
Yeah, my son just turned 21, but I can still remember when he was, 14, 15 years old, and, deciding, when he was going to play a video game or, go over and visit his buddies was the most important decision that he was making. So, I hope it works out. This Farabee kid, if you ever get a chance to see him or read about him, he looks like he's a natural. So that's funny. All right, let me just double check.
I hope it works out for everybody.
Yeah, that would be good. Let me just double check to make sure that my iPhone is recording okay. How's that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.